Some rather horrific news. 33-year-old Justin Mohn has been accused of beheading his father over political differences. This news has broke recently. And when I saw it and I saw the responses that people are making to it, especially people that are immediately jumping into either saying it's a psyop or who are immediately jumping into saying that it's a reflection of conservatives, I thought to myself that this is bigger than just one single incident, as tragic as it is. This is something deeper about our political culture in America that we have to address as Americans if we're actually going to overcome the problems that produce this kind of outcome. So before I get into this and give you my analysis, I'm going to play part of the video, because there was a video that Justin Mohn did. He did a 14-minute video roughly where he showed the beheaded head of his father and he talked about a bunch of political and social stuff. I'm not going to show you that part, obviously. I don't want my channel to get taken down. And plus, in my opinion, watching that stuff is bad for the soul. But I will show you parts of the video where he's talking about his political ideas and he's saying why he did what he did. So go.
He is now in hell for eternity as a traitor to his country. It is said that those who commit treason and betray others occupy the lowest pits of hell for all time. The federal government of America has declared war on America's citizens and the American states. America is rotting from the inside out as far-left, woke mobs rampage our once prosperous cities, turning them into lawless zones. Taxpayer dollars are printed and used for anything but the taxpayers, with little to no accountability, which has inflated the economy to near destruction and has made it so most Americans can no longer afford the American dream. Meanwhile, a fifth-column army of illegal immigrants infiltrates our border, and if the traitorous Biden regime is successful in sending America's military overseas to fight for Ukraine and die in a Russian winter, just like every other military who has ever fought Russia in the winter, then America will be less protected when the fifth column of illegal immigrants strikes Americans on our own soil. My name is Justin Mohn. I'm the commander of America's national network of militias, which you may know of as Mohn's Militia. I now give the following order for all militia and patriots across the United States of America. All federal employees are to be killed on sight. All FBI, IRS, and other federal law enforcement offices, as well as federal courthouses, are to be sieged around the country. All federal agents, U.S. Marshals, federal judges, and Border Patrol are to be killed or else captured, tortured for information, and publicly executed for betraying their country.
Well, I'm not going to address everything he said, because as I mentioned, what we need to look at right now is not the ramblings of this individual who is obviously an insane person. We need to look at what can unify us in this moment and move us towards a healthy and better America. But there are some lessons that I think that we have from this incident that, regardless of your political affiliation, everyone should be able to appreciate. Number one, this probably is more common sense, but it has to be said for sake of clarity. In a country of 330 million people, a small fraction of the population is bound to be insane. You cannot blame this fact of probability, dictated by the laws of probability, on a political ideology, unless that political ideology explicitly advocates for this kind of brutalized, third world, uncivil, barbaric behavior. In absence of that active advocacy, you cannot blame the ideology professed by the individual who did the evil actions, whether it be, I'll leave it right there for a second. Number two, this is very important. Many influencers, we have to look at how we talk about politics in modern society. Many influencers on both the left and the right who will bellow out warnings of civil war, who will call the other side fascist, who will call their political opponents evil, and who will dehumanize those who have different perspectives than them, contribute to a polarized atmosphere where an unwell person might take inspiration to conduct horrific violence and other unspeakable acts. Political commentary is not a game. Twitter or X is not a game. YouTube, Rumble, whatever video sharing platform is not a game. This is real life. The words you say as a commentator or as simply someone who is contributing to the discourse in your own little way have a tangible impact on how people are going to act and perceive the world in real life. We must be intelligent, deliberate, and careful with our political claims and with our takes on the world so that we do not needlessly incite this kind of behavior. Of course, no matter what you or I say, it is not our fault if a crazy person goes out and commits violence. That is not your fault whatsoever. What I'm saying is, however, how the atmosphere surrounding our political conversation, that can motivate desires and feelings that would have otherwise been suppressed. Again, it's no one's fault, except that we should be striving to have a healthier conversation as opposed to being needlessly incendiary and provocative. Because when you are needlessly incendiary and provocative, you are leading from a point of emotion and not from a point of reason. And a political culture based on emotion and passion is more likely to produce violence, to produce chaos, to produce a lack of goodwill, and to produce situations that are amendable to evil than a political culture based upon reason, upon goodwill, upon mutual cooperation, and upon seeing the humanity in your fellow man, seeing the humanity in your political interlocutor. Another lesson that's very important. You should all ignore what I call proximity ethics, which is when you make a decision about what is right or wrong on the basis of what the idea you're addressing is close towards. Ignore the proximity ethics that narrative agents will try to invoke. Ignore people saying that Justin Mohn is a conservative or somehow aligned with the right or is somehow a part of the pro-America movement. His actions have shown himself to be a third world barbarian, an anti-American, and everything but a conservative. His actions betray any concept of natural rights, natural law, consent, ethics, goodwill, all of these things that are unique to the idea of what it means to be an American and are especially important if you're going to call yourself a conservative in the American context. Conservatives don't behead their fathers. Conservatives don't use violence as a means of political engagement. Conservatives use their voice, conservatives use their reason, and conservatives use an adherence to first principles to create certain avenues in political discourse. Anyone suggesting that this killer is a conservative is either mistaken, confused, evil, or all three all at once. Now again, unfortunately, as I mentioned, there's something deeper going on here where intelligent conversation has become suspended and we are now in this limbo state of talking points, buzzwords, and memes which constitute our political discourse. And in being in this limbo state, we've created an environment where understanding is not prided, where understanding is not held in utmost importance, but instead owning the other side is held in utmost importance. We have to make a tangible effort as Americans, as political observers, to change the way we conduct ourselves to create a less polarized environment. This is not to say that we have to compromise everybody. I'm sorry, but some worldviews are just incompatible. And we need to actually get to a point in our country where we realize that. But just because your neighbor's worldview is incompatible with yours does not mean you have to hurt or be at war with your neighbor. The entire project of America is one of pluralism, where you may have your own different taste and subjective preferences, but under the uniting umbrella of first principles and philosophy, there is a core set of values which keep you both on the same track, even if you decide to go at that track at different rates of speed. That is the American project. But to preserve that, we have to respect differences within the boundaries of moral constraints. Lastly, not everything is a psyop. Let me say that again. Not everything is a psyop. Evil exists, and a moral people must condemn evil wherever it arises. Because if it does not do that, if it assumes that all instances of evil are manufactured, and instead talks about how it's manufactured as opposed to how it's evil. We leave ourselves vulnerable to attack from evil forces. We leave ourselves vulnerable to a lot of dangers that could harm the existence of our country. I don't care if evil is organic or if it's manufactured. Evil is evil, and a republic can only subsist upon the wills of a moral people. The moment we forget our underlying ethics, the moment we forget morality, and we're more caught up in who has power, who wields power, and what conspiracies those who wield power are engaged in, because trust me, there are conspiracies that are true. I believe that. But when we focus on that as opposed to focusing on actual principles, we distract ourselves from the very core requirement that keeps our republic not only virtuous, but in existence. A republic falls apart if it loses its virtue. And I think that by being distracted, that's one of the best ways to lose it. Now, this individual has a long and storied history of engaging with government forces, of being a content creator. Apparently, he had a Spotify page. Apparently, this individual had sued the government for student loans. He said that he couldn't find any employment, and so he blamed the government, and he blamed the government for him taking out student loans. Apparently, he had written songs about all kinds of things, about women, about his father. He thought his father was jealous of him or something like that. This individual obviously was disturbed, but that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is that we recognize what we need to do in this moment to at least, if not remain, work towards becoming a more unified country, even if we disagree. Because the atmosphere of hate and vitriol and enmity will only produce worst outcomes, whether it be a transgender shooter in Tennessee killing a bunch of innocent Christian children because that individual had been told within their echo chamber that their feelings are totally, utterly valid and that hate needs to be fought even if it means violence. There is a certain political side of the aisle that is okay with using violence as a means of political advocacy. Or whether it be this guy, who obviously took a lot of things that are being said, a lot of legitimate points that are being said in conservative media, and translated them into a place that they were never meant to be taken to. No, we have to pump the brakes on our discourse. And we have to be more sober-minded with how we talk about these issues. My friends, if you want to support me and my mission, because my mission is to establish a revolution of the mind, where our goal is to bring back philosophy, reason, critical thinking, a strong understanding of history to the masses of American political observers. If you want to support my mission, you can like this video, comment on this video, share this video, subscribe to this channel, study history, study philosophy, remain morally convicted, and please stay pensive. Bye, guys.